All right. I think we're rolling.
Here, let's see if that'll work on yours.
All right.
I'm just gonna do a quick switch in your.
Check. All right. Seeing a pic. Check. Input. Okay. Boom. Check. All right. How about now?
Yeah.
I see a yay. Can I get a hell yeah? Are we live? Okay. So just to get some feedback, I want to make sure y'all can hear us and see us. Can we get some feedback here in the chat section? Can you join the admin? All right. Hangout.
Oh, I need the new one, dude. Non-Superlink. All right, or can I join a Superlink admin again?
No.
So I need non-Superlink.
Okay, cool. All right, just give us 1 minute. Sorry for the hang up here.
Co-admin. All right, we're trying to figure this out. We had a little bit of internet connection issue, and we had to plug in internet to
an Ethernet.
An Ethernet.
Good old
not
Ethernet.
Go wireless.
One of these days, though, we're gonna have the new Google connection.
Yeah, some of the things we wanted to talk about is the spring equinox and what's going to be going on there. So we're going to talk about that. And although we're a little bit behind schedule, we still have plenty of time to share some of the really important things that we want to share today, and to get you guys mapping the next 3 months of your life. Okay, I am about to join on here.
Okay.
All right. That's good. Come on here.
Hey there. How y'all doing? Can you hear us okay? Video and audio okay. Great.
Hey, thank you guys for sticking with us and hanging in there. We know we're a little bit behind time, but
share your screen.
Yeah, so you can share mine, right? There you go. Okay.
Oh, this is awesome. Good old growing pains.
Okay. Okay, back on live. So let's get you quickly up to speed. And so again, we're here with the Transform Me program. This is Spring Equinox Life Mapping Session. It's a really important time during the spring equinox to start planting new seeds. There's a lot going on right now, and we're going to talk a little bit about that real quick. If you don't know me and John, my name is Tyler Mongan, and this is Jonathan Fritzler.
Yep, and it's great to be here with you all today. Thanks for hanging in here with us, and we're so excited to share this strategy session with you, because I promise you that it's going to be really powerful and profound, because this is stuff that we've been practicing in our own lives and with our clients. Tyler and I both do strategy sessions with individuals and with businesses, and this is the type of strategy session that we wish that we would have had when we first got started out in business. And you know, we both have so much experience in business. Myself starting my first nonprofit about 10 years ago, building a recording studio, and eventually just really getting big into event production. And Tyler also has a lot of experience.
Yeah, so my background actually started a couple companies here in 2008. One was called the Honu Guide. It was a coupon book for local green businesses in Hawaii. I also helped launch a company called Nella Media Group, and that was a media company. Initially, we were focused on sustainability and action life, but now it has grown, and it is focused on content for the modern traveler. And it's a great great organization, Nella Media Group, that I helped start, and I'm really excited to share some of the stuff that I've learned through that process. But one of the most important things, I think, is this life mapping session that we're going to be doing today. It's something I wish I really would have had when I first started off, because I was just kind of aimlessly seeing what would happen day after day. But now I get much better results because I'm more planned out. And we're going to really quickly go over goals and expectations and talk briefly about the spring equinox.
Right. So I think one of the main goals that I really hope for all of you is that you embrace this idea of social entrepreneurship and conscious entrepreneurship. The idea that business is a powerful vehicle for social change, environmental sustainability, and really creating a more sustainable planet for ourselves. And so just to get on that page, that we have the potential to transform this planet by becoming conscious social entrepreneurs. And so we welcome you.
Yeah, and that's one of the goals of sacredstrategy.org is to activate 100,000 conscious entrepreneurs, help them start businesses, and make their ideas into really conscious businesses that help save the planet and the population of the world.
Yep. So let's get started with some of the goals and expectations for today. So basically what we want to do is we want to understand the importance of changing the changing seasons and their effect that they have on our lives, and to be able to understand on a deeper level our own personal values and start to begin to intelligently and intentionally develop a plan that works in alignment.
Yeah, and one of the things we're going to be going through today is our Sacred Strategy formula for establishing priorities and then creating a timeline around those priorities, and then really not visualizing to really make those real in our lives. And some of the expectations we have from you today is for you to be 100% committed to this process and experience, to be fully present, of course to have a good time, and to also feel really good about your experience here today.
Right. We want to feel this good.
Yeah, we want to feel this good.
Like, look at that conviction. You know, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through this formula that we've developed and tested in our own lives, and we're going to be creating timelines and mind maps to help to visualize this future possibility and this future plan for ourselves. And we're even going to be integrating meditation and visualizations to be able to anchor in these new visions into our subconscious minds.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about the spring equinox, really briefly. So we're a little bit behind schedule, but we want to just at least kind of set the context for why this is an important day. And one of the things about the spring equinox, that's happening in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, we actually have the autumn equinox. And this is the transition from the winter time into the spring. It's a time when there's an equal day and equal night, right? So what's that all about, John?
Yeah, so it's really about bringing balance into our lives and honoring the season, and that honoring the fact that we are part of this planet. We're made out of 70% water, and so is our planet. And so by becoming aware of these planetary movements and kind of seeing how they influence our lives, we can come into a greater alignment with that. And it's also a new moon and a super moon, which is a great time to plant seeds. We have that the moon is extra close to the planet, to Earth, and so we have this new energy, this momentum that we can tap into, along with, of course, the solar eclipse.
Yeah, and one of the really interesting things is how at this point in time, the sun is rising pretty much directly in the east, and it's setting directly in the west. So this is a great time to start the navigate that new course of your life, because things are really in alignment. And John's going to talk real quick about some cultural significance of that as well.
Right. So there's actually these epic stories in history of people like Jesus, who was crucified and then brought back to life. There's also the Egyptian god Osiris, who was also resurrected around the same time, and also Mayan maize god, who also experienced the same story. So all these cultural and historical moments. But beyond the story, there's even these huge temples around the planet that are perfectly in alignment with the rising sun, such as the Sphinx in Giza, which is the picture you have here, the temple in Cambodia, and also there's the feathered serpent in Mexico in Chichen Itza. So and they're perfectly aligned with the rising sun of the equinox.
Yeah, that's really interesting to think how these cultures have built a structure that takes many years to develop because of the type of labor they had to do, but they're able to keep it pointed directly at the rising eastern sun during the spring equinox time.
Yeah, so now what we want to do is we want to think about these stories, but we want to relate them to our own lives. And I really feel like the hero's journey, the story from Joseph Campbell of the hero who is in their place of comfort at the very top in the field of the known, and that's where we're at right now. And we're experiencing a call to action, something that's supernatural. It's calling us into this new chapter of our lives. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be entering into this first threshold, into the unknown. And what we want to do is we want to go into that. We want to be, as you can see, the helper and the mentor. That's us, to navigate through these coming challenges and temptations, trials and tribulations as we go into this transformation and eventually experience atonement, so that we can re-enter into our field of the known, into our comfort zone, and be able to teach and share these messages with our community.
Yeah, one of the things I like to think about is these next 3 months is I'm going to be plotting my own hero's journey, just for those 3 months, a nice short journey, not a very long one, but my own hero's journey of this next 3 months and what I want to accomplish in my life and my business. And to get us started today, I want to lead you guys through a really quick little meditation. Yeah. So we're going to have everybody just close their eyes real quick. And you take a deep breath. So a nice little inhale. And a nice exhale. And I want you to imagine a door in front of you. And on the left-hand side of the door, I want you to see a basket. And on the right-hand side of the door, I want you to see a basket. And in that left-hand basket, I want you to drop everything that you've done today. All the emails you've answered, all the emails you've sent, the breakfast you had. Just let all that go and fall away into that left-hand basket. And now in the right-hand basket, I want you to imagine all the things you're going to do after this Transform Me program today. I want you to let all that stuff just go. Just let it fade away. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and you can walk through the door and come into the present moment.
This is a rite of passage. And right now, what we are stepping into in this new field, in this new reality, this new perspective, is we are tuning into our deeper connection with nature. We're tuning in to our deeper connection. And what we're tapping into is this universal law, the law of attraction. Now, our goal today is to design the upcoming season of our lives, and it's also to activate those innate powers that are within all of us, but oftentimes remain dormant until we explore it and unlock it.
And so that this process of mapping is going to help you to better understand what you want to attract in your life, right? And set the seeds of intention that we can water with our awareness and consciousness and allow that to grow into reality, right? And then during this process of attraction, there's also a process of letting go of the outcome and not being attached to a certain type of outcome, because you want to be surprised by what comes your way. Although you might think you know what you really want, there's so much more out there that's possible. And so leave yourself open to letting go of the things that you think you're planning to happen, but also take the time to really consider what you think you want to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And also just really become aware of the powers that you have within you to be able to visualize this coming season, and the ability that you really have to be able to start tapping into that vision and start mapping it intentionally. And being able to start to really feel that experience. There's a study by HeartMath. They said that the electromagnetic field of the human body emits we emit an electromagnetic field, and that's two parts. So there's the electromagnetic field of the mind and the heart, and they found that the mind, well, let's say the heart is actually 100 times stronger electrically than the mind. And the heart is 5,000 times stronger magnetically than the mind. So that the heart, the feeling that we get of faith or vision or excitement or love, whatever it is that we are creating. That feeling is really what's attracting to us. The thought is kind of like the transmitter to this frequency. The heart is kind of like the dial of the frequency. So let's really go in and tune into these new realities and start to feel that experience that we're going to be creating.
Yeah, and so one of the things I'm kind of a heady guy in general. I like to think a lot, but what I found out is when I start feeling about things as opposed to thinking about them, that's when they become more alive, right, in my life, and they become more real as well. And that's part of this process of what we call the awakening the genius inside of you.
Right.
And it's all about really finding out what these values are in your life. So it's funny because what you think you might value might be really different than what you really value. Right, and so what's some of the ways you can actually figure that out?
Right, so there's this whole idea of the study of axiology, which is how, as humans, we place value on certain things. But it's not always like a lot of people say, oh, I value integrity and honor, you know, these like ideas. Actually, our values are what we do most of the time, what we think about all the time, where we spend our money and our time and our energy, what we surround ourselves with. Our values is what we hold closest and spend our time thinking about. And so a lot of times our values aren't actually very valuable to what we really want. And so what we want to do is we actually want to start to think about what it is that we're creating in our life. And one way that we can become more aware of our values is by looking at this platform called the value scale. Now, if you look at this platform here, we have this is the value scale. Now, on the top, you have the, if you look at the very top, we have our highest values, our highest priorities, what's most important. And then if you look down at the bottom, on the left-hand side, it says lowest values, lowest priority, and least important. Now this map is kind of like designed to be able to help us navigate. Now when you look at what's highest in your values, when you're in alignment with what's highest in your values, you're inspired. Whereas when you're in alignment with your lower values, doing things that aren't important to you, you need motivation.
Yeah, one of the ways I like to think about this is when I'm doing something I love to do, I can do it for hours and hours, and I don't feel tired. My hands don't hurt. It's easy. Right. It's easy to do it.
Right, but when we're not in alignment, when we do things that are out of alignment, what happens is, like, think about you don't want to do something. It's like it becomes this chore. It becomes this like, oh, do I have to do it? And it like kind of beats you down internally, and it starts to, you know, kind of crunch you in and really contract your energy. Whereas when we're in alignment with our highest values, look over here on the right, on the top, expanded consciousness. We're expanding our consciousness. We're inspired. We're the master of our destiny. Whereas on the bottom side, when we're not in alignment, we're constricting our consciousness. We're procrastinating, hesitating, and getting frustrated. And so what we want to do right now is we want to actually have you think about these 3 different questions. And if you pull out in your workbook,
oh yeah,
is this in the workbook, these 3 questions?
No, 3 questions are not in the workbook.
Okay, cool.
Well, yeah, some 3 questions we want you to consider real quick. So maybe you have a piece of paper next to you, or you can just think about these, because if you're at your home or in your office or in your room, you can actually see, get a glimpse of what you really value. So one of the things we want to ask you is, where do you spend most of your time?
Yeah.
You know, so someone who says, I really value nature, but maybe they only go out into nature once a month. Well, then obviously there's a misalignment between what they think they want and what they actually do value by where they spend their time, right?
Right.
And so we want you to consider that one first. We also want you to consider, where do you spend your money? So where you spend your money will tell you a lot about what you value, right? So again, maybe you think you value health. Yeah. But if you're spending your money on types of foods that are not healthy, then obviously there's a misalignment here.
Right. Yeah, you know, for me, with like money, it's like I've realized that I spend most of my money on food and shelter. You know, and that's our basic needs. Like those are our basic needs, and those are our values. Now, for a lot of people that, you know, have that covered and that's easy, then it becomes where you're spending more of your money and time and energy at. You know, and then the last thing is, the last question to think about is, what do you research read or what do you watch? So what TV shows are you constantly tuning into, or spending a lot of your time? Now these are our values, and it's really important to start to think about that, because if you value, say, starting a business or having some sort of prosperity in your life, whether it be through your career or through a business or in your relationships, we really need to start to think about how we can come into a higher alignment with those and place more energy in those areas.
Yeah, that's great. And so one of the things we want to move into here is talking a little bit about evolution of a plan. This is actually in your workbook, so you have at least you have the X and Y axis for this, and you see here we have these nice little lines plotted that you can start to draw in. And so John, why don't you tell them a little bit about what this key features of this evolution of a plan are about?
Yeah, so basically what we really want to identify here is the fact that by starting to identify what is most important to you and decide, make it a gut feeling that what you want is in this new chapter, is in this new plan. So whatever it is that you're creating, really getting certain that this is what you want, because this new level of consciousness is what's going to take you to option A, what you want, the strategy, the awareness, having more meditation. These are ways that we can cultivate what you really want, versus if we go back to our old thoughts, our old patterns of thought, which is unconsciousness, our old ways of thinking, and playing into our old forms of medication, which could be victim mindsets, or it could be actual medication, or it could be drinking, or playing into these old realities that aren't necessarily in alignment with our highest vision of ourselves.
Yeah.
So how can we start to really take this? As you can see, this is the spring equinox on the bottom there. This is the coming month. So how can we put ourselves on a trajectory to experiencing option A of what we really want?
Yeah, and one of the things that's interesting about this graph as well is if you look at the left-hand side, it has the levels of consciousness there. Another way to think about that is also the level of your ability to align with your core values, right? So the more aligned you are, more conscious you are of those core values, the easier it's going to be to really hit that target point of option A, which is what you really want,
right,
when we land 3 months later from now in the summer solstice. And we're going to show you in a moment how to start this process of not only prioritizing and your priorities, but also to map those in the timeline.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we get to move into the really exciting part. We are going to ask you to join us as we step into what we call the Mind Lab. Now, the Mind Lab is a program that we've developed to strategically start to unfold, start to tap into our mind, start to tap into our subconscious, and really start to prioritize what it is that we want to create in our life. And so what we're going to be doing is focusing on what we want over the next 3 months. And so this is something that we're going to do live right now, but we also encourage you to continue working on this beyond this one session, because we want you to really put some time into thinking about these things.
We don't necessarily have all the time to go through exactly what this kind of process needs, but at least to get you started moving in the right path. And one of the things we've seen when we're working with people on this Mind Lab and prioritizing their goals is that a lot of people don't really know what their priorities are, right? And so some of the things we're going to talk about later on is how you can work with us over the next 3 months and actually help to really prioritize and really make those goals really happen in your life as well.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, so we're really excited to get started. So if you have your workbook out, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going into phase 1, which is the page where, let me just pull up my workbook here.
Mind Lab, it says in your workbook.
Yeah.
It should say Mind Lab.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to do what we call a mind dump, or we're going to be just completely unleashing our ideas. So we want to just take everything that you are thinking about as far as what you want to start, what you want to do, your different projects, and start to really just unleash it. And we're trying to release all this information, because what happens when we release these ideas onto paper is that we're actually, right now your mind is at full capacity, and what we want to do is we want to start pulling that out and releasing it, pulling it out and releasing it, and start to create that quantum vacuum, because you're creating new space for new ideas and also tapping into the ends of those previous ones, pulling them closer, and then tapping back out. So just take a few minutes to just really start to focus on getting those ideas out there. What are the projects you're working on? And just start writing.
Yeah, and it's really cool because one of the things I found out for me personally actually is when I started writing music, is one of the things that happened is as I started to write music, more music came because it created this quantum vacuum that allowed more stuff to flow in and through me, right? So, and as soon as I started to mind lap them, then the good stuff really started to come.
Nice.
Yeah.
So list those out. What are some of the marketing strategies or some of the people that you would want to get in touch with or get in contact with? You know, strategic alliances. Who are the nonprofit organizations that you can work with that would want to support you?
Yeah, and part of this is just you know, initially just writing down anything that comes to mind. You know, no matter how small or how big it could be, right? Because you want to start to see how these different ideas start to integrate and line up and prioritize.
Yeah. So what would be some of the different products that you could create, or some of the different services, or different, if you're a yoga teacher, like what are some new techniques that you could start to develop and test on a small scale, or who are some of the potential partners that you could team up with?
Yeah, so just drop all that on the Mind Lab real quick. And I know we are a little bit behind schedule. We're going to run over. We're going to run this through for the full hour, right? And then, so if you can't stick around with us, no problems. You'll be able to watch this on a replay, and you'll be able to go through the whole process, okay?
So go ahead and fill that up. And when you are ready, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be moving into the bottom section there, that we want to list the top 3 things that you want to accomplish in the coming 3 months. So this could be one project a month, or maybe you have 3 big projects that you're working on. It could be, you know, family, business, and health. You know, it could be 3 main areas, but we just want to identify what those main areas are.
Right. Those goals can be very specific, or they could be general. One thing I like to do is I look at my Mind Lab, and I start to circle things that are related to each other, and see how they become a priority as a group, right? And so maybe you have a whole bunch of different things listed on your page, but you want to find those 3 things that you think are the most important for you.
Right, so now as we move into phase 2 of prioritizing, you can actually go deeper into prioritizing this first page by saying, okay, what are the first things that you got to do in this giant list? Like, what's the top priorities? Those 3 priorities are the top priorities, but then things may fall under those. So you may want to you may see different connections between different projects. So now what we want to ask you to do is take that page and flip it over to the back side, and where you have a blank sheet of paper, and what you're going to do is start to create a mind map. Now, I'm just going to show this up here. Now, many of you probably already know what a mind map is, but it's just kind of like a web of your ideas, where the central location in this case is going to be spring of 2015. Spring strategy 2015. And so we want that to be your central hub. And this is something that both Tyler and I do. I'll actually show you my mind map.
Yeah, so just on that blank piece of paper, put down that spring equinox 2015 in the center. And then start to go back to your top three priorities and look at those. And those are going to become, right, the little sprigs of the hub, right, the cogs of the hub, right?
Yep.
And you're going to actually put those 3 priorities around your center, which is that spring equinox. So John's going to show you his real quick.
So this is an example of what I do, and I'm always making mind maps. So this actually says spring strategy right here, and it looks like I've got, you know, some sacred strategy stuff, you know, create the bank account, which you can donate to, by the way, and we do all of this stuff through donation and love offerings. So if anyone's interested in contributing to our service, we appreciate that. Also, you know, different projects. I've got education energy over here. I've got community partners, so list of community partners. I've got my list of clients here. So and then so basically I'm able to see who I'm working with and really start to visualize in a new way. And I'm a very visual learner, so I like to be able to really see all the things that are in my brain because I have so many different projects going on, and to be able to pull them all together and see it and be able to play with it, move it around, see it from different angles, it really helps to keep your mind organized. And that's so important because when your mind is organized, when you have that feng shui, that is when you're able to tap into higher states of consciousness and be able to start to execute at a higher level.
Yeah, and for example, the map that John has over here, it's just it's kind of like a draft in a sense. Like it's not necessarily a final version of anything, so it doesn't need to necessarily look pretty. It just needs to get a start, right? Get things going.
But take pride in it. Take pride in it because it's something that's this is your mind. And you want it to feel organized. And so it's like when you do it, like do it well, but remember, you can just crumble it up and throw it away whenever you want, or start over. And what I'm always doing is I'm always redoing my mind maps, updating things, crossing things out, taking them out, and doing them all over again. This is something that you want to be constantly focusing on, always just rekindling that fire of clarity over your vision.
Yeah, and we're going to take this information and then we're going to move it into another framework, right? Into a more finalized framework. Okay, and so this is a timeline, right? So you've done your mind labbing, you've kind of prioritized your 3 things. Now you've mapped out the center thing, which is your spring equinox, and you put your 3 priorities around that. And now we're going to start to put those into a timeline. Right.
So in phase 4, the timeline, what we're going to be doing now, this is one of the most exciting parts about manifesting, but it's also one of the scariest. And it's funny because you might be looking at this and being like, ooh, I don't know. Like when you first start to write that thing on there, and I see it happen all the time, you start to write it on, and then people are like, well, I don't know if I'm actually going to do this.
Right. Or they might not think it's possible. Maybe within the time frame they've kind of given themselves, there might be hesitation because they don't think it's possible to do it within that time frame. But it's amazing though when you start to go back and you look at at least when I go back and look at the timelines I've created and how things do happen.
And it's amazing because one of the things that holds people back from putting this on the timeline is fear. Fear of failure. Fear that if I put that information on this timeline and I start to write things down and I don't do it, I might fail, and that's not going to feel good. Well, it's okay. Half the time I make all these lists. I got so many different lists of all my ideas, and half of it doesn't happen, or half of it happens differently than originally intended. But the bottom line is that this is designed to help you navigate through the coming months, because the bottom line is you are going to be moving into this next cycle, into this new semester, into this new spring season of your life. And so by starting to write this down and intentionally saying what you want, we can start to create it.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in taking the time just to write the things down. And one of the interesting things that I've noticed too is, and it comes from a lot of work of Joe Dispenza, is the idea that there's really no way to know exactly what you want in the future, because if you did know exactly what you wanted in the future, then you'd already have it, right? Because you'd be that person that could actually make that real. And so one of the things you're trying to do is to plot these things on a timeline so you can actually work on moving yourself, or actually calling yourself to become that person that can make these new ideas and goals a real thing.
Right. So as we move into this, I want to make something absolutely clear. Now, there's 2 parts to this timeline. There, at the very top, you'll see anticipated goals, and then on the bottom, we see the breakthrough goals. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the top half first. We want to do the top half first, and we want to say, what are the anticipated goals that you have in your mind lab? So all those notes that you took from the your mind map, all the mind map stuff that you are creating, those are going to be in the anticipated goals section. That is what you're already intending. Those are the visions that you have, the goals that you're setting, and things that you already have in your radar. And then on the bottom side, The bottom side is something very powerful, and this is an incredible manifestation tool. You want to talk about it, Tyler?
These are the things that they just seem way outside of your reach or possibility, but they could come true. And it's almost like a little game. Like you could say, well, what if
It's 2 o'clock.
it's 2 o'clock? What if it's 2 o'clock right now?
Yeah.
What if you could have $2 million in 10 days? Right? It doesn't seem like a possibility, but it's something that will really blow your mind in some capacity and take you outside of your normal realm of thinking,
Right.
consciousness. And that's a really powerful thing. So maybe you don't want to say, what if $2 million in 2 weeks? But maybe $2,000 in the next 10 days, right?
Right.
Something that's just mind-blowing for you.
Yeah, but you also want it to feel attainable or feel real. If it feels not real, like if you say, oh, $2 million, no way. Well, guess what energy you're putting out?
Yep.
No way. Yeah, so how can we say yes? What are things that we could say yes to? Now, for instance, you could look at this and you could say, I can guaranteed make $10,000 in this 3 months, right? Well, what if you were to put $10,000 on top, guaranteed that you're going to make, but on the bottom you said $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 and these are those unseen miracles. These are where we are calling in miracles. We are activating the subconscious mind to start seeking these little blessings that are coming to us right now because you are calling it forward.
Right. So, and one of the ways I like to think about it is that the top line, that anticipated goals, these are things that are usually generated from your past thoughts, right? You know these are going to be possible, or you know they're already going to happen, right? They have a specific date for them. But then there's these things that we really want to help step away from your past thought and create new trains of thought with. And that's these breakthrough goals, these unanticipated goals that could be possibilities now.
Right. So really be creative with what you do there, because I was actually working with a client recently, a coaching client, and we were doing a visioning where we were looking at her potential clients, where they were hanging out. We're in a high-rise building. We're looking down, and we were saying, okay, let's come up with possibilities. What would be some possibilities? And her first possibility was, oh, well, I could run into this guy who I know, and he could say, oh, you can use these resources of mine. And I was like, okay, well, that's actually something that we already know. That's an anticipated goal. What is a breakthrough goal? What is something that we haven't anticipated yet? What is a breakthrough? It's like, okay, we're walking down the street, and all of a sudden some guy sees you and says, hey, I really like your style. Where did you get that thing? You say, oh, well, I actually made it. And then he's like, oh, well, I am actually a producer on a national scale, and I'd like to sign you on my team. Like these unforeseen things, because you're putting yourself out there, that will come as long as we start to call it forth. So use that subconscious manifestation power.
Right. Yeah. That's great. It's a really great example of how this timelining can really help you out in your life. I have a friend just recently. I saw his to-do list, right? And he had it on his whiteboard, and it basically was just a list of things that need to get done. And I asked him, well, when do they need to get done? What's the order? What's the priority of them? And he had no idea. He hadn't even thought about that. They were just sitting up there. And so it's just not as accurate or fruitful if you haven't put these into some type of timelining. So that's what the significance of this process is.
So visualize it again. I'm just going to show you how important these timelines are. Here's one of them that Tyler and I created. Here's another one of them. This is a 6-month timeline. This is a 1-month timeline. These tools are so powerful, and there's digital tools that you can make timelines on, but honestly, writing it down, being able to start to actually script it with your hand, it kind of drills it. It's more creative, and you're able to maneuver with it more. And I think there's something that's so special about writing with your hand and actually drawing it out and taking the time to start to visualize it from a different perspective and start to plant those unforeseen miracles in there and start to really be creative with that. And you can include lists. We have lists on here that we put like people that we want to contact, different lists of action items that goals that we should have done by this point in time.
Right. Yeah. Especially when there's things that have to happen in a certain order to make something real. It's really important to put these into this timeline. And one of the interesting things is if you stay in that the process of, or that experience of feeling, And as you're doing this mapping or this timelining and writing things out, see how it feels. Is there hesitation? As you're like actually writing it down, is there real hesitation? Does it feel uncomfortable to actually write the word or the number down? Or does my hand stop writing, right? If you stay with that feeling spot, you're staying in the moment and not just being haphazard about the process, then you find a lot of information on where potential blockages are and where things might not happen because you don't align with it in some capacity. You need to find that alignment again.
Right. So true, and it's so powerful too. I was doing a meditation yesterday, and it was right after I had talked to my computer guy. My computer recently got fried, and he said the hard drive got fried. He said that because the motherboard had this big shaking burst of energy, it fried some of the thoughts in the hard drive, and it actually it totally scrambled the hard drive, and so certain files couldn't work anymore. And I was like, whoa! I was actually in my meditation, and all of a sudden I was like, wait a second! I keep running into these barriers that are like these files that no longer work. And so I thought, how can I start to change it? So I'm in my meditation, and then all of a sudden I just like, from my motherboard, from the heart chakra, I just start to like burst this like into these old stagnant areas of the mind that were like fear-based, or and I was like doing this meditation, and I started like twitching, like my body started to twitch, and I realized what I was doing was I was sending new energy, new electromagnetic fields, new frequencies through my body to send it into a state of shock so that it can be malleable. And this is the whole idea of neuroplasticity, which is the fact that we can change the chemical structure of our brain and of our mind right now in this moment. And you can feel it. You can feel it right now. Just feel, lift your energy. And when you're going in and writing your timeline down, lift your energy up and have faith.
Yeah, because it goes back to that thing we talked about, how easy it is to change your energy, but how important it is to be in a high energy space when you're actually doing this type of timeline. Because if you're in a low energy place, then the type of information you're going to get is going to be lower energy type of information. So your goals aren't going to be aligned with what you really want, right? They're going to be aligned with a lower level of consciousness, is the idea. And so it's really important to go through that process with this.
Right, and I think another thing that Tyler touched on there, it's like you have to be in the right mindset when you're doing this. Like a lot of times when I'm doing this type of stuff, like I'll look at all my notes and I'm like, man, I've done this so many times. Like, how many more times can I do this? Like, only half of it works. Like, la da 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 da. All these subconscious doubts and whatever. If I go in and start doing this practice with that mindset, it's not going to be very fruitful. And so, what is it going to take for you to turn on the aromatherapy machine and turn on some nice music and open the windows and take a Saturday off and really start to get into this and feel that experience, like really activate those metaphysical powers that you have within you, so that when you're doing this, you are drilling it into the subconscious, but you're also sending it out into the quantum field.
Yeah, so I mean, we can't really fully go into this process during the Transforming program because we're basically just showing you the process and showing you how to do it. But it's really best maybe if you set a day, like half a day, or like 2 or 3 hours aside over the next few days. Pick a date and actually go through this for yourself. Go through the mind labbing, prioritizing, the mind mapping, and then the timelining, and giving it really the attention it needs. It's really important.
But there's something also, and I gotta throw this out there because Tyler and I, our main focus right now is this new mastermind group that we have coming up. And what we're going to be doing is actually guiding a group of 8 individuals in the process of following through with these strategies that we're creating. And as professional life coaches and business strategists, our forte is really helping launch conscious entrepreneurs and helping see their visions through. And I can tell you this more than anything, I've personally had a life coach over the last 4 years. His name's Sean Douglas Stewart. He's a brilliant man and has trained me in so many ways. And to have somebody who cares about your visions and your dreams just as much as you do is so important. It's so huge because our mind is just like constantly going in different directions, and if you don't have someone to keep you on that path, it's hard to keep going and to have someone holding you accountable to that. And we want to just make ourselves available to you for the people watching today.
Yeah, it's great. It's really cool. I think what we're going to be doing over that little mastermind group of 8 people, and really helping them and using all the resources and experience that we've had, not only in entrepreneurship, but also just in personal development and growth and spirituality and meditation. And I'm actually in school at Quantum University, where we're learning a lot of really cutting edge concepts and frameworks around quantum field and quantum field technology. It's really amazing stuff, and you can actually apply and utilize this stuff in your life immediately.
Right, and that's what we do, and that's kind of our job as the leaders of this mastermind group. And I've personally been facilitating this a mastermind over the past 5 years, and through this process mentored over 300 individuals in starting their businesses and launching their ideas, getting their dream jobs, and whatever it is that you want to create right now, it is so possible. But friends, I will tell you this right now, one of the biggest challenges that we have is this thing right here, and it's the mind, and it's fear, it's the ego, and there are ways that we can start to transform that mind on a subconscious level to the point where your mind is working in favor for your prosperity and your future. And that is really what we want to focus on, is being those guides, that light for you in your life. And that is what this mastermind group is going to be all about. So we just want to quickly share a little bit more about this program, and be able to outline it for you.
And we're going to be definitely using this timelining as one of the frameworks to start with, and we'll be expanding on that and actually going deeper with it. One of the big things that we think is really important, that's not focused on much at all, I don't even haven't even really heard about it till this year, and actually working with it in my own life, is this idea of cultivating a prosperous mind and a healthy psychology around money in your life and your business. I think it's one of the most powerful things and most important things that, especially a young entrepreneur, someone who has an idea that they want to create value from, it's one of the most important things to really consider. And they don't even teach you this in any of the programs, so it's really interesting. And during this mastermind, we're also going to be using tools and strategies that are based around this transforming webinar, like we said. Of course, we're going to go deeper with it. We're going to take things to this next level. And really help you to fine-tune what you've kind of mapped out already, or what you think you want in your life.
Right, and it's really about activating that genius that's within each and every single one of us. And the bottom line is that genius is in there. We know it's in there, but how do we activate it and align it? And that workshop that we did earlier with the aligning the values, that's one of the tools, one of the many tools that we use. But we also, part of this group is that we share resources. So I have a massive collection of audiobooks, so does Tyler, and so one of the parts of this program is that we actually prescribe audiobooks, so that when we separate, you're actually downloading that information into your headphones like the Matrix. It's like new paradigms, new perspectives on life, on business, on whatever it is that we're creating. So it's really strategically designed that over the next 3 months we're going to be transforming. And as you know, our body is constantly changing. Our cells are dying and being recreated at light speed, and we are going to be a totally different person in 3 months from now. And so the question is, how can we get into that new trajectory, how can we become that new leader? And so that is the program that we want to offer you today. And so we'll just
and just real quick, it's one of the things that I think is really powerful about masterminds is that idea of bringing people together as a group and really sharing your ideas and goals as a group, because you're professing it to more people. And so it becomes kind of like a checks and balance for you. Once you've kind of told the people you're doing this thing, it becomes even harder to not do it, but also it also puts more positive energy into making it real. And so really taking the time to do that is really powerful. It's something I wish I would have gotten involved with when I was a young entrepreneur back in 2008. I wish I would have had a mastermind group that I could have gone to and really shared and vocalized what I wanted to do, and also get feedback.
Right. And then the last thing that I gotta say is that this ain't no normal mastermind group. Like, I know a lot of circle groups meet up and they're like, oh yeah, we're hanging out, and it's like, we are business strategists. Like, that is what we do professionally, and so that's what we want to really be able to bring to you. Is we want to bring legit, hard strategy that can actually like really rock your world and take your business to the next level and start to create you as a sustainable individual so that you're bringing your light to this world, and that is what is sustaining you as a leader of your life. So
yeah, and one of the things that I think me and John are both really excellent at, as experts at, is actually making things real. Taking maybe high-level ideas or consciousness and really bringing it down into something that matters. Like something that can be valuable and something you can package in a way that you can turn it into a service for other people.
Yeah. So if you want to check out the program, there's a little button up here on the right. It's called Pop-ins up at the bar on the right-hand side here, and you'll see that there's a button here for the Sacred Strategy 3-month Mastermind, and we want to offer this today to anyone that's interested in joining. We've got 5 group meetings via Google Hangout that we usually charge $4.99 in one private session, which is $3.99 with the 2 of us. And there's only 8 spots available for this, but for this workshop today, we want to offer this this value that's valued at $1,000 for only $300 today. And so we want to extend this to you as a gift of love to be able to help you and help your vision of your business.
Yeah.
And so we really hope that you'll join us for that.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to be able to offer people, 3 months of some type of, group coaching, and then also a little bit of private work with them at such a good rate. It's really not much of an investment, $100 a month.
Yeah.
And over the next 3 months, and it's amazing how like one conversation with somebody who has an expertise or a strategy or a framework or skill that you've never thought about before, and how much value that can add to your life.
Right.
I mean, I've had meetings with people who've been mentors of mine, in just one conversation with them, and they've opened up doors that I never thought possible.
Right.
Or they've given me a perspective on something that was worth, I can't even put a price tag on it.
Right, but at the same time, I've had those mentors and I've had those meetings where it's like they tell you, oh yeah, here, just do it. This is all you got to do. Go ahead and do it. And then all of a sudden it's like, then you're on your own and it's like, wait, what did he say? Like, how do I do it? What do I do again? And so we want to kind of bridge that gap. We want to be those mentors, but we also want to be there with you in the process. So as we wrap up today, we just want to I'd like to quickly just share this last phase of this process, and this is phase 5.
Yeah, I think this this visualization activation that John's going to do is it's really important to not only write down your goals, but also to see yourself as that person, that new person that can make these dreams and these goals a reality, right? Somebody, you have to become somebody new. That's the real idea. I mean, when you set a new goal that you haven't accomplished yet, it means because you're the type of person that wasn't able to do it yet. And you're actually trying to become that new person that can accomplish these goals that you're going to be setting on that timeline.
Right. So let's wrap up today with this visualization, and would like to encourage you to just like have your notes, your visions that you've written down today, have those in front of you, but kind of just sit back and just get in a comfortable position. And what we're going to be doing is I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath. And as you exhale, just release any tension that you're holding on to right now. And take another deep breath in. And with this one, you're going to hold it for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, and release. And as we start to feel that energy inside, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be visualizing the next 3 months. See that timeline. See that timeline in front of your eyes right now. And just hover over that timeline. And see those breakthrough goals. See those goals that you know are going to happen. Whether it be getting a new job, getting new clients, finding love, maintaining friendships, whatever it may be. And as you look at that, just feel the joy of fulfilling all of those goals. Just feel the feeling of what it would feel like if at the end of that year, at the end of the 3 months, and you just feel awesome. You're looking back and you're just radiant with life. Communicate with the body right now. Raise your energy. Feel that joy. Feel the excitement of those new opportunities being fulfilled. And as we come back up along that timeline, I want you to just imagine that you have a handful of stars in your hand. And as you throw these stars down onto the timeline, each one of these are like new, unforeseen miracles that are falling into your future, falling into your future. New opportunities, new doors being opened. Feel that joy. See those coming into your timeline right now. Feel that joy. Communicate with your body. Raise your energy right now. Lift up your energy. Start communicating on a subconscious level. Feel the smile on your face. Sit tall. And as you feel that activation in your heart, open yourself up to communicating with that higher self and ask it to give you signs along the way. Ask it to communicate with you. And right now, use that co-creative ability to communicate with it. With that force, with that source of power, communicate with it and ask it to bring those miracles to your life. It's incredible what we are capable of creating when we tap into the power that we have been given. When we release our old story of the past and start activating the visions that we have for our future right now. And with a happy heart, take a deep breath and bring yourself back to this moment right now. We want to thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yeah, and also thank yourself for taking the time for yourself to do this as well. It's very important that we're not only grateful for the help that others give us, but also for the time we take to accomplish our own goals.
We'd like to, before we end here, just like to encourage you to check out the, in the workbook we have the feedback page, and we would love to ask you to just share your feedback from your experience, and also would like to encourage you to, again, in the pop-ins tab up top, there's the offer, and we'd like to encourage you to also, if you're interested in joining us, to share your contribution through anything that you can contribute financially through a donation. We are a nonprofit organization. We are a registered 501c3. So I know taxes is coming up, so if you got to write off some taxes, feel free to share the love.
Yeah, we're going to be doing this every season. We're just going to continue it indefinitely. It's the plan for us is to make this our mission and vision for the next at least 10 years of our lives, because that's how long it's going to take us to get that 100,000 conscious entrepreneurs at sacredstrategy.org. And you can also join our Facebook page, and we also have a private group Transform Me page. We'd ask you to join as well. We'll be sharing information about the next Transform Me event. And we're also going to be asking you to take some actions around that and to share your timelines and start communicating in building a group consciousness around what you learned today.
Yeah, we'd love to see your timelines and see your notes and see and hear about what the experience was like for you. And if you feel so led to share a testimonial about your experience with us, we would absolutely be honored and grateful for that.
Thank you for joining us for the first Transform Me and for sticking in with us with the technical difficulties we had early on. And look forward for you to join us at the next Transform Me. That is going to be the summer solstice life mapping session on June 21st, 2015.
Yeah, so thank you all so much for joining us today from the island of Oahu.
Aloha.
Aloha.